Welcome to True Echo, where the quietest acts reveal the loudest truths. Today's story follows a black nurse who acted with courage when others froze, and paid the price. But what followed, a hidden bank freeze, a billionaire's secret call, and a national reckoning, will leave you speechless. Stay with us. The emergency room smelled like antiseptic and tension. It was nearly midnight when Alana Brooks clocked in. She didn't need caffeine to stay awake anymore. Her pulse naturally synced with the rhythm of urgent footsteps, monitor beeps, and quiet dread. Dressed in crisp green scrubs, her locks tied neatly back, she walked through the sliding doors and headed for her usual post. She didn't expect anything different that night. ER shifts were unpredictable, sure, but they followed a brutal rhythm. Car crashes, heart attacks, overdoses, sometimes worse. But nothing ever shook her. Alana had worked in this downtown hospital for over 8 years, and every life that came through those doors mattered to her. No name tag, no net worth, no skin color changed the way she moved, fast, precise, fearless. 15 minutes into her shift, the comm snapped. Coming in hot, a paramedic shouted, bursting through the entrance with a gurney. A pale woman in a lavender gown lay motionless, her lips tinted blue. A thin trickle of blood ran from the corner of her mouth. Vitals crashing, possible airway blockage. Alana didn't wait for direction. She was already moving, gloves snapped on, stethoscope out. But around her, the 5 ER doctors just stood there. Watching. Whispering. One pulled out a tablet. Another frowned, muttering something about waiting for confirmation. Are you going to help or watch her die? Alana barked, not bothering to make it sound polite. Still, no one moved. With a tight breath, Alana tilted the woman's head, swept her mouth, suctioned quickly, then began administering emergency airway support. As she inserted a temporary breathing tube, a wheezing gasp escaped from the woman's throat, followed by a coughing fit. She's stabilizing. Alana shouted. She kept working, her hands a blur. It wasn't until after she placed the woman on oxygen that the chief of surgery, Dr. Catan, finally stepped forward. Are you sure that was the appropriate intervention, nurse? His voice was flat, clipped. Alana didn't answer. The woman on the table was breathing. Color was returning to her skin. That was all that mattered. But then came the whispers. That's Marlene Whitmore. As in Douglas Whitmore's wife. The billionaire. Suddenly, the room's energy shifted. Not toward gratitude. Toward suspicion. Cold glances. Tight lips. And one long silence that Alana would never forget. Alana peeled off her gloves and dropped them in the biohazard bin. Her heart was still racing, not from panic but from rage she kept buried under years of practice. She'd saved that woman's life, and not one of those 5 doctors had thanked her, or even acknowledged it. Instead, they stood there, stiff-backed and pale-faced, like she had done something wrong. Alana, a quiet voice called. It was Nurse Jenna, one of the few who didn't treat her like a walking liability. Jenna's eyes darted around nervously as she handed over a fresh chart. You okay? Alana gave a dry smile. Is the patient breathing? Jenna nodded. Then yeah. I'm good. But she wasn't. Not really. And by the time Alana went home after her shift, something in the air felt off. Not just the silence in the break room. Not just the way Dr. Catan had looked at her when she bypassed the chain of command. It was something colder. Heavier. The next morning, it hit. Alana brewed coffee, her body aching from the overnight, and tried logging into her work account to check on a patient's follow-up. Access denied. A red banner flashed on the screen. Her phone buzzed. Hi, Alana. This is Tanya from HR. We need you to come in. Your access has been suspended pending administrative review. Review for what? Alana asked, stunned. There's some concern about protocol last night. Nothing's official. Just, come in, okay? She hung up without giving Alana time to respond. 2 hours later, she sat across from the HR director, arms crossed, jaw tight. No one helped her. She was seconds from dying, Alana said. You'd rather I waited for permission while she coded on the table? The HR rep gave a well-rehearsed smile. It's not about the outcome, Alana. It's about procedure. Chain of command exists for a reason. Alana left the meeting feeling like she'd walked into a room with no doors. But things only got worse. That afternoon, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was the bank. Ms. Brooks, we regret to inform you that your savings account has been frozen due to a pending inquiry. We're not at liberty to disclose more details, but the order came from an internal compliance review, linked to a high-profile client. Alana froze. A client did this? I'm afraid I can't say more. Click. She stared at the wall for what felt like hours. She had done her job. Saved a woman's life. And now everything, her career, her finances, her peace, was being quietly dismantled. No alarms. No press releases. Just silence. Cold, calculated silence. But someone was watching. 3 days later, the hospital's security footage, somehow leaked, hit the internet. It showed a crystal-clear view of the ER. The video was short, just under a minute. But in that time, it captured everything: the doctors standing still, the panicked paramedics, and Alana, leaning over Marlene Whitmore, calm, focused, precise, reviving a woman everyone else had left to fate. The video went viral overnight. The caption read, "She saved her while they watched." By sunrise, Alana's name was everywhere. By noon the next day, Alana's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Her inbox was full: journalists, activists, strangers from all over the country. Some were furious. Some were crying. Some simply wrote, "Thank you. You reminded us we're not invisible." The video had done what no HR meeting or internal memo could: it exposed the silence. The hesitation. The racism no one wanted to admit existed behind hospital walls. But it wasn't just online buzz. It was fallout. Alana's name was on headlines from coast to coast. Nurse saves billionaire's wife as doctors stand frozen. Hospital suspends hero nurse without explanation. Racism in the ER. Viral footage sparks firestorm. TV crews showed up outside the hospital. Protesters gathered with signs that read, "Let nurses work" and "Black women save lives too." Staff were instructed not to speak to media. The hospital issued a bland press release citing a routine internal review. Routine? Alana nearly laughed when she read it. But no apology came. No one from the hospital called. Instead, it was her phone, again, that changed everything. The number was unknown. No caller ID. Just silence at first, then a woman's voice, calm but shaky. "Dr. Brooks?" the voice asked. "This is Alana." A pause. "This is Marlene Whitmore. I believe you saved my life." Alana didn't respond right away. "I don't remember much. But I remember you leaning over me. And now I know what happened after. I had no idea. No idea what they did to you." Marlene took a long breath. "I'm so sorry." Alana finally spoke. "I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because no one else moved." "I know," Marlene said. "Which is why I need to make this right." The next day, Alana's bank called again. Her accounts were reinstated. No explanation. Just a technical error, now resolved. Hours later, the hospital called. Her termination had been reversed. A clerical miscommunication. But Alana didn't return. Instead, she wrote a letter, stapled her badge to it, and dropped both at the front desk. She didn't wait for applause. She didn't need the cameras or the press conference they suddenly wanted to hold. She was done being a token they could pull back in to save face. But she wasn't done healing. Alana spent her first day away from the hospital not resting, but breathing, for the first time in weeks. No beeping monitors. No cold stares in sterile white rooms. Just the rustle of leaves outside her apartment window and the low hum of distant traffic. But even as her surroundings calmed, her mind was racing. For years, she'd poured herself into a system that quietly doubted her. Every promotion passed over. Every idea dismissed until a white colleague echoed it. Every patient who asked for someone else the moment they saw her face. She had stayed. She had endured. Because the work mattered more than the noise. But now the world had seen what she'd always known. The next week, her story didn't fade, it grew. News outlets followed up, demanding answers. Think pieces popped up everywhere, dissecting everything from medical hierarchy to implicit bias. Civil rights attorneys commented. So did medical board members. So did late-night hosts. But through it all, Alana remained quiet. Until Marlene Whitmore spoke again, this time, publicly. At a gala held in Washington, D.C., Marlene took the stage to speak on healthcare reform. Halfway through her speech, she paused, voice trembling. "I would not be standing here if not for Dr. Alana Brooks," she said. "And I would not be able to speak of justice if I ignored the injustice that followed." Cameras flashed. Reporters froze. Marlene didn't mince words. She laid out the events, how Alana saved her life, how the hospital punished her for it, and how silence was used as a weapon. By the time the speech ended, the crowd was on its feet. The next morning, Alana's name trended again, but now, paired with something unexpected, opportunity. Dozens of medical programs, non-profit boards, and philanthropists reached out. Some offered jobs. Others offered grants. One letter stood out from the rest. It was from a foundation dedicated to supporting Black women in medicine. They weren't offering her a position. They were offering her funding. "Start your own clinic," the letter read. "Name it. Run it. Let it." For the first time in a long while, Alana allowed herself to dream without limits. It started with a single room. A quiet, brick building tucked between a grocery store and a laundromat in southeast D.C., not flashy, but full of light. Alana walked the dusty floors, her fingertips grazing the empty walls, and knew this space could become something. Not just a clinic, but a place where no patient would be overlooked, and no healer doubted because of their skin. She called it the Whitmore Brooks Health Collective. The name wasn't for recognition. It was a message. 2 women. One nearly died. One almost had her life destroyed. But together, they exposed a system's failure, and built something better. Marlene Whitmore was the first donor, writing a check that would have made hospital executives faint. Then came others, celebrities, doctors, everyday citizens moved by the viral video. Donations poured in, some large, some small, but each one added up. In under 4 months, the clinic opened its doors. Alana stood at the front desk on day 1, the morning sun streaming through the window, a line already forming outside. Mothers with children. Seniors with canes. Men in work boots. Women in headscarves. No one asked what insurance they had before seeing them. No one cared about background checks or old medical bills. They came to be healed. And they were. The clinic didn't just treat illness, it hired differently too. Black women physicians. Latinx nurse practitioners. Asian American mental health counselors. LGBTQ+ staff. Veterans. It was a mosaic of care, and it worked. But the clinic wasn't only healing patients. It was healing Alana. Every time a child smiled after getting care. Every time a young black girl looked at a doctor who looked like her. Every time a patient called her Dr. Brooks with pride. But healing comes with growing pains too. One afternoon, while Alana was preparing for a press interview, her assistant rushed in. "There's someone here to see you," she said, voice uneasy. "He says he's from Whitmore Industries." Alana's heart paused for a beat. She hadn't spoken to Douglas Whitmore, not once. Only Marlene. She stepped out into the waiting area, where a sharply dressed man in his 60s stood with a neutral expression. "Dr. Brooks," he said stiffly. "I'm Douglas. I believe we've never met." Alana held his gaze. "No, we haven't. I came to thank you. And, to apologize." Alana didn't speak right away. She studied Douglas Whitmore, the billionaire industrialist, the man whose wife she had saved while his influence nearly cost her everything. His suit was flawless, but his eyes were tired. Not just from age, but from guilt. Or at least, something close to it. "I wasn't aware," he began, his voice low. "Not until Marlene told me what happened, what they did to you afterward." Alana's arms folded, not out of hostility, but self-preservation. "You mean, how your hospital froze my account, suspended my job, and treated me like a thief for saving your wife's life?" Douglas looked down. "It wasn't my hospital. I fund it. I sit on the board, yes. But I didn't pull those strings." "Then who did?" Alana asked, her voice cutting through the air like a scalpel. Douglas hesitated. "The chief of surgery. Legal counsel. Public relations team. They were worried about optics, about you making a mistake and being connected to the Whitmore name." He didn't say it, but the implication hung heavy. A black nurse saving a white billionaire's wife didn't look clean enough for the brand. Alana nodded slowly. "So they tried to erase me." He didn't deny it. But what came next surprised her. "I came to ask if I can fund a second clinic under your leadership," Douglas said. "In Baltimore. We want to partner. Quietly, if needed. Or loudly, if you'd prefer." Alana narrowed her eyes. "Why? To clear your name?" "No," Douglas said. "Because you're doing what our institutions failed to. And because I want my legacy to reflect that I listened, eventually." Alana didn't respond with a yes or no. Instead, she said something that lingered with him long after he left. "Legacy doesn't come from what you say in public. It comes from what you fix in silence." That night, Alana sat in her office long after closing, staring at the photo on her desk. It was from the clinic's ribbon-cutting day. Staff of every background, arms linked, smiling proudly. Behind them, the clinic name, the Whitmore Brooks Health Collective. Two worlds that never should have collided, had become inseparable. And that, Alana realized, was her true reward. But one final moment still lay ahead. A year to the day after that fateful night in the ER, Alana stood in front of a full auditorium at Howard University. She wore a deep navy suit and a quiet smile. The audience wasn't made up of donors or journalists this time, it was students. Black, brown, white. Future doctors. Future nurses. Future change. She'd been invited to give the keynote for the graduating class of the College of Medicine. At first, she had hesitated. She didn't like the spotlight. Never had. But something in her had shifted. She no longer feared being seen. The auditorium hushed as she stepped up to the podium. Her voice was calm but filled with something more powerful than volume, conviction. "A year ago," she began, "I was suspended from my job for saving a woman's life." She paused. The audience didn't move. "I was told I acted without approval. That I bypassed protocol." What they didn't say out loud, but made very clear, was that I had stepped out of my place. A murmur ran through the crowd. Alana continued. But here's the truth, my place is wherever a patient needs me. My place is beside the dying. My place is in leadership. My place is in ownership. My place, our place, is anywhere we decide it is. Applause erupted. She held steady, letting the moment breathe. I opened a clinic not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted freedom. Because we deserve to work in places that don't question our competence the moment we walk through the door. She looked across the room, faces lit up with hope, pride, and fire. You don't have to wait to be chosen. Build your own table. And if the world doesn't clap for you when you save a life, clap anyway. Because you're not here for applause. You're here to heal. The standing ovation was thunderous. Afterward, a young girl, barely 16, approached her in the hallway, eyes wide. I want to be a nurse. Like you. Alana knelt to her level and smiled. No, sweetheart. You're gonna be a doctor. Or a chief surgeon. Or whatever you want. Just promise me one thing. The girl nodded eagerly. When you see someone about to be erased for doing the right thing, you speak. You move. You lead. And with that, Alana walked back into the light. No longer just a nurse. No longer the woman who was almost erased. She was the woman who redefined what power looks like in a white coat. In a world where silence often covers injustice, Alana Brooks proved that courage can speak louder. That healing isn't just about medicine, it's about dignity. About standing up when others sit still. And sometimes, about losing everything to gain something greater. Let this story echo in your heart, racism doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Delays. Doubts. But courage always answers louder. If this story moved you, subscribe to True Echo for more powerful narratives. Leave a comment, share your thoughts, and pass this video on to someone who needs to remember what real strength looks like.